All right, this one, if my skin looks a little bit burnt, because I did get sunburnt kayaking on last weekend, Saturday, which happens, down here in Florida. It's not longer than expected. You guys want to hear about my kayaking adventures? I mean, some of them are more exciting than others, but uh, Florida has more diversity than people realize. Sure, it doesn't have mountainous streams, very high energy on average, pretty slow blackwater rivers, but still pretty wild. Um, as far as this topic, kind of going off the cuff here, no notes, right? Because I'm trying to get a rhythm in this YouTube channel. Maybe I'll be bouncing off topic to topic. Maybe I'll revisit sometimes, but this one seems like a low hanging fruit. Um, just because I have a Zoom meeting in an hour or a club meeting. Um, this is a pretty low hanging fruit. I mean, maybe it wasn't a year or two ago that you want to talk about wasting your money, right? Um, you hire something called a therapist. I don't care what their qualifications are, what degrees they have. You want to absolutely waste your money away. They're not your friend. They're not your ally. They're literally just there to listen and give you advice. They're just a mental consultant, anyways. Really think about it. Um, because, maybe I have something, maybe I don't. I think it's more of a spectrum. Some people they have some display some symptoms of some stuff much of the time. Sometimes they're perfectly fine. It just varies, man. And really, I think I mean I could talk about whether some people use it as an excuse if they do have a mood disorder diagnosis. Maybe some people do. Maybe some people feel like they wish they never would have had it. But whether there's so much. The human mind is so complex. It can get so messed up so easy. I wish parents would realize that. Um, I'm just saying that in general, not trying to put anybody on the spotlight here. But I don't care what your diagnosis is. If you have half a brain and you have the ability to read books, look at what other people are given advice they're given online, you should definitely not piss your money away doing something called therapy, right? Because especially if you're lonely in life, good luck, buddy. Good luck trying to not to gain a friend, gain an ally. It's just not going to happen. You're going to want to tell little white lies. You're going to want to seem like the hero. And maybe they will think it. Maybe they'll be on your side. But overall, they're getting paid to look at the big picture and be a mental consultant. They're not there to get attached. Trust me. You might think, oh, I'm so quality. I'll win them over. I'll no. I mean, there are exceptions. If you want to be a jerk like that, and you know, but they have strict guidelines. I'm just saying this in general. I'm not. It remain it. I plead the fifth whether I tested the boundaries or not. But ultimately, they care about the ching ching more than whoever the heck you are, right? Um, that's what they'll make sure it's recording. That's what they'll defend, right? Because they're going to. All right, let me backtrack a little bit. So, who really needs it? Right? People who think, oh, I'm out of control. I am so hopeless. The emotions are getting the best of me. The main problem is nobody tells you about the subconscious, unconscious mind, right? I'll probably discuss in future videos whether free will exists. I think it really just depends on what you define as free will. But ultimately, so much of our problems comes because we just are always go, go, go. We have to be better. Have to big pressure, make the big money. And we never slow down and ask the big questions and realize what the heck am I doing here? Is this really sustainable? Is this how I should be acting? Are my expectations realistic? Do I have, you know, I wish I had some notes here, but I'm just going off the cuff here. Maybe I won't be able to do that forever. I'm still relatively young, relatively good mental shape. I don't know. It varies day to day. But ultimately, I mean, even if I have a bunch of notes, it's just inevitable. I podcasted, and no matter how good of a notes you have, how good well you prepare, you're always going to slip up a little bit. You're going to say, "Oh, I should have expanded on that point. I should have said this instead of that." And I'll just either make a comment or a part two or whatever. But yeah, ultimately, they're not your friend. They're not your ally. They are only there for your money and to listen. They're not. It's even debatable if they're really trying to help you. I think the self-help industry in general, the therapy industry, they gaslight. They are taught to expect you to lie. Yeah, I know I said earlier white lies, but if I'm trying to really improve myself, which I did when I was in therapy, I thought it was really I believe the BS lies, myths that it could help even a little bit. Let's consider the fact that therapy can actually make it worse if they don't say the right things. And when you're talking about your deepest, darkest, big insecurities, if they slip up even a little bit, this super sensitive stuff, then they can make it worse. They can, where they realize it or not, gaslight you. They can say, why didn't you just try this instead of that? Why are you so, they might not outright say, why is this such a hang up for you? But they're going to act like it. They're going to act like, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just act like that? Um, they're taught that they shouldn't judge, but everybody judges. And not everybody has the same upbringing, expectations, same values, I mean, some people are much more religious than others. Some people love nature. Some people love fiction. I mean, to each their own, but ultimately, there's going to be differences. And especially there, if you really think about it, who needs therapy? It's very ignorant people, very rich people, and people who have no time. It's a very slim people with lots and lots of trauma that are super hyper social. They have to talk it out with somebody and nobody else will listen and they have to talk it out. But I think ultimately it can make it worse. Or, yeah, a lot of times it can make it worse because, they're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. So ultimately, you don't know. You might think, oh wow, you might get some really little breakthrough realizations. You want to expand on it, but then they'll say, oh no, we need to talk about XYZ instead. So and that way they can make it worse. And I wish I didn't know all this stuff. I wish I was a genius and realized from the start that therapy is a waste of money, time, energy, money. Might as well just go to a bar and just drink all that money away, right? That way you might actually try to make some friends. I mean, maybe not in a club playing super loud music, but there's lots of much better ways to waste your money than to hire one of these mental consultants, therapists that society just puts way too much trust in. They think, oh, you're messed up. Of course you're messed up. You're the problem. Just go talk to somebody, talk it out, talk it out. They'll fix you. No. What if it's the society, the system that's broken and sick? Right? We're just products of our environment. And that's what DBT does. It gaslights you. It says your mental perspectives are wrong. Your expectations are wrong. And maybe it is a gray area. Maybe we do have unrealistic expectations, but it never, the main problem I think I have with therapy, it never admits that society is sick, toxic. Well, it's all about the money. It's all about status. It doesn't admit. I mean, maybe they do sometimes, but in my experience, they don't. They might say, oh, what? Yeah, we put way too much emphasis on extroversion. We have rigid expectations, blah, blah, blah. But because you have to realize therapy is part of the system that is oppressing so many people and oppressing, right? Because the full and its money are eventually parted, right? Therapy is like a main, I don't care if you have insurance, you're still going to have a deductible. You're still going to bring out some big money, even if you work for government and you have a decent deductible. Here in other countries, there's like a waiting list, so that makes expectations go up. And in my experience, sometimes it makes it worse. You feel all right, and then you're talking about issues, and you don't really go anywhere. And the therapist is kind of gaslighting. Oh yeah, we're making so much progress. But I'm like, uh, it's like only an hour or two. Sometimes I do like an hour and a half. And even then, like sometimes I could feel like, am I really the problem here? Or is this mostly just showing how society is kind of messed up and has really messed me up? And I've had a lot of bad luck. I mean, it is a gray area, no matter what. But I know I'm just scratching the surface here. I don't want to get into too many examples, but yeah, definitely. There's even a subreddit where they talk a lot of sense about this, about how therapy can be damaging. And I've heard some real horror stories on that subreddit. I can't remember what it's called. I'll probably put in the comments or the description what it's called. But yeah, man, just for 200 or like $100 per hour. I've seen some therapists, they ask for like $200 per hour. I'm like, what? You just have a master's degree and you expect 200 or $300 an hour for what? You're just listening to someone say blah 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 blah. And it's just hilarious when you see their certifications. They pretend like they know everything about everything. Some of them, every mood disorder, every mental disorder, every kind of trauma. And it's just like, some of them they probably. I mean, some of them outright say, I'm mainly specialized in this kind of trauma and this and this and that." And it's like, okay, but then you know people have like 1 or 2 years of experience. It's in my opinion, I think eventually they all burn out because there's no way they can hear the worst of humanity and expect them to keep actually caring for their patients, aka victims of society. I mean, it seems like an easy job, doesn't it? Just sit in a room, pretend to take some notes, or actually take some notes sometimes. Because I could tell. I once tried with a guy. I've tried with two women and one guy, and the guy, he seemed the most out of it. He seemed like he was close to retirement. He looked through his notes, didn't remember much, and then another guy I saw once, and he seemed to help a bunch. And talk me through like thoughts lead to feelings, lead to actions, and you can change the thoughts. You can't just outright just try to be less angry, try to be less sad. You have to look at the inner mind, what is going on inside of here, right? But ultimately, I think eventually it just stopped caring, or yeah, in my experience, in my opinion, either they're all going to eventually burn out, or just stop caring, or just mainly burn out and just either go on autopilot, easy mode, just take some notes and just. I've heard even some therapists like barely say anything. They just listen the whole time. Like, what? How do they expect to get paid like that? At least I've had some people who at least like mostly try for the most part, or at least half-ass it or something. Um, yeah, I think that's a good overall overview of that. I don't know how long I've been recording. Uh, hoping this is like around 10 minutes long. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, definitely don't expect them to, because they even have rules. There's strict rules that they can't become your friend because there's some ethical boundaries and it wouldn't be fair on the patient that they know too much, it's too unnatural. Of course it's unnatural. Um, just think if society collapsed, if you became dependent on somebody to hear all your issues and then society collapses, guess what? Nobody's going to just outright just listen to your all your problems, right? So why would you get it's just unbelievably unnatural. The more you think about it, it's just a one-way street. And of course, you're going to get attached to them in some way, whether you see them as a parental figure, as a love figure, as a best friend of some sort, because they're always there for you. And it's going to affect your emotional mind. Your unconscious is going to either hate their guts because they're not saying the right things, or because they're always there for you. You're going to like borderline fall in love with them if actually. And I see online it's actually very common, and lots of people don't admit it. They're going to be afraid that you push the other person away, and it's not like you actively decide either. It's a weird thing, like because it's so unnatural. Because I mean, the emotional mind is not very smart for women and men, in my opinion. Right? That's why you really have to slow it down sometimes. Ask it questions. Ask, is what I'm thinking and feeling really as rational as it feels, right? And society doesn't teach you that because it wants you to spend your money and just overall so many reasons. I'm just scratching the surface here. Oh man, got a club meeting coming up. Uh, I've been using way too much time off lately, so that's largely. I wanted to tackle a bigger subject here, not a low hanging fruit, but I'm trying to get some momentum here. Uh, Something's better than nothing. My other YouTube channels way more quality over quantity. I don't know. It's sometimes it's quantity over quality, but this. I mean, I know I'm just talking sense. I'm going to keep it real. I don't care what other people think. They want to think they're going to believe society's myths that society is looking out for the individual. Is it really? Who benefits here from? I mean, that's the thing. You hear online like lots and lots of people say, "Oh, therapy didn't work for me, but I'm sure it works for most people." It's like you hear advice, people saying, "Oh, just be a nice guy, just do this, just do that," and it works. But so much of just be a hard worker, like it's just BS when in reality. And therapy is one of those things. Nobody is going to fix you just by discussing your issues. What are they going to say? You're not crazy. Why don't you just slow down your mind, talk to a friend, right? They're going to keep it real because even if you are that shit crazy, the therapist is never going to admit it. So they're going to make suggestions. They're going to do whatever they can to stay professional and protect their own behind. They're not going to be perfectly honest all the time. And I found it much more. If you really do need mental help, read books about mental disorders, and yeah, just look up philosophy, Stoicism, Alan Watts. That helps a bunch. I should make some potatoes talk about Alan Watts, how much wisdom he spits. How all we have is the present. We can look at the past, we can appreciate the past, we can look toward the future, but the only thing that exists right now is the present. That literally exists. But the mind functions that, of course, the past is going to feel real. I mean, everything is a singular event. Where does one event end and another begin? But that's another topic for another time. Um, yeah, I'm not going to draw this out. I think that's a good place to bookmark it. So yeah, want to waste your money? Want to have a fake friend who gives you very slapdash advice that doesn't want to be your friend, that feels like an ally, but really they're not. They're mental consultants and they expect a premium price just to be a mental consultant. Might as well just ask random strangers online. They're just as much people as these professionals who just their qualifications are so overrated. The advice they give is just laughable at least half of the time, if not more. What are they really going to say that's going to fix you? Why don't you just try doing something else? Well, if you just are on your own, you see your perspectives in a less emotional way, slow down your mind, think about it rationally. You can do what they do much easier because you actually know your own mind. They don't know. They know you're talking to them. They have their own filters, their own expectations. Nobody knows their own mind as much as we do. So trust me, it works much better if you just go through the emotions on your own. I don't know why this contrast thing with the sunlight, you expect it to look better. Maybe it looks better on the playback, but anyways, I'm ranting out. I think that's a good place to mark it. All right, cool. So next time, might talk about Alan Watts or could expand. No, I don't know if I want to expand all this. This is a touchy subject, but does it is a gray area. But again, if you really feel like you need to do therapy, it's been on your list. Okay, try it. Well, I'm telling you, man, the really good therapists who actually care are very few and far between. And even then, like they're not going to help you as much as it feels like they are. It sucks and it feels like, oh, I'm stuck. No, I told you some resilient strategies. You can slow down the mind, look into your expectations, look at your thoughts, your griefs, your embarrassments, your just imagine somebody else having your problems. What would you advise them? Right. I mean, there's so much bad advice out there on YouTube and self-help. Self-help, I could talk about that at length. So much toxic. Just be a hard worker, just clean your room, just do this, just do that. It'll fix your life. I mean, momentum matters, don't get me wrong. And being compassionate toward yourself and having some discipline, but having discipline to the max is not going to fix everything, but so you have an open mind, not beat yourself up, try something new. Just even though it feels like you're broken forever, it feels like no matter what you do, nothing's gonna. If it's not working, try something else, right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and doing expecting a different result. I know it's cliche, but it's true. Well, the vast majority of the time. All right, cool. I'm getting redundant here. I think that's good. All right, cool.